Never thought I'd start a vlog in the state of Oregon. A place where if you hate paying sales tax, you might like. We are at King's Blazers to start this vlog. We are playing poker. That's going to happen in just a matter of moments, though it's going to be back in Reno. Despite only being an hour flight away all these years, this was actually my first time spending any time at all in the city of Portland. Dedicated viewers of this channel will remember Anna's cousin slash bestie, Mary Chris, who we stayed with on this trip. And let me tell you, she definitely lives the good life. My Sacramento Kings were favored by 7 points in this game, and yet they managed to lose it by 9. Don't tell De'Aaron Fox that I'm thinking this, but I'm pretty set on the notion that once Las Vegas gets an expansion NBA team, my days of being a Kings fan are over. So it wasn't a long trip, only 2 nights, but it did include a swing through Oregon's wine country before heading back to Reno 2 days after Thanksgiving. As for this session, it was a busy day at Peppermill with a full game on Table 1 before 11 a.m., being anchored by Mr. Z. We'd get a game going on Table 5 at noon featuring Mr. W, John the Concert Merch King, 3 grinders, and 2 out-of-towners. I am under the gun, 7-handed, with jacks and make it 35. The hijack and the cutoff make the call. And then, I'm going to say something I rarely do. A random lady who I don't know from out of town 3-bets me in this hand, making it 150. Not sure what the hell is going on here. I make this call. Hijack overcalls, and the cutoff folds. So we have a pot of $485, and the flop rolling out 10, 7 deuce, 2 hearts. Playing 1,000 effective, I check. Hijack checks, and the button fires big. She makes it 500 in this spot, and this is just truly bizarre. Now, I fold the hand here. I'm sure most of you would as well. Don't know the player. I don't know what's going on, and it's an absurd amount of money for just a pair of jacks here. So unfortunately, we'd get a pretty anticlimactic start to this poker session. So I'd lose 150 with jacks, and then about a half hour later, I'd lose another 85 with 10s, when I'd lay them down on a queen-high board to Mr. W. I would then pick up queens and open to 40 in the low jack over a limp from middle position 1. Cutoff calls, and the limper completes. So with 125 in the pot, the flop would come out king, 5-5, rainbow, and I check. Cutoff bets out 50, and MP1 folds. Closing the action here, I'd elect to stick around for another street, and with 225 in, the turn pairs the king. I check again, and this time he makes another small bet, putting in 75. Now, given the fact that a king coming makes it that much less likely that he has one, and if he doesn't, he's likely to check back the river, I go ahead and make this call. And with 375 in, the river's a deuce. So I check, expecting him to check back a lot of the time, but he does bet. He tosses in a black chip here, and this is not going to be a bluff. We talked about this in the last vlog with double paired boards. It's just never going to happen. I fold this hand, and he shows ace-king for top full house. This is a mid-session update, and I suppose this could also qualify as a tease, because it is my sincerest hope that the next vlog you see does not suck. And that's the end of this update. +1 opens to 35, and Mr. W calls middle position 2. So with 105 in, the board comes out 5, 8, 9, 2 clubs, 1 heart. We'd get a $35 C-bet from the original raiser, and a call from MP2. I would slow play here, and then start rolling video. I do both those things. So with 210 in, the turn is the ace of hearts. +1 fires 65, MP2 calls, and I am now done slow playing. I make it 250. And it isn't going to shock you that nobody folds here. So obviously the question I'm wondering is, what landmines am I going to have to step over here? And with 960 in, the river is another heart. But it does get checked to me. I am asking the question to you grinders who watch this vlog. Is this a check back against two opponents? I thought about it, but had to come to the conclusion that either one of these guys would have bet if they had indeed improved to the best hand here. So, I just bet 200. First player thinks about it, and ultimately settles on a fold, and then Mr. W goes into the tank before ultimately showing the ace of clubs and laying it down. So I ask the question a second time. If I can't get paid off by the loosest player in the game with an ace here, should I have even bet? It's what I would spend some time thinking about. I would then call a raise with 6-7 again and would flop another straight. Unfortunately, this time I wouldn't slow play it. I would bet right out for 50, and to my disgust, everyone would muck, making me wish that I had waited until the turn. Over the next 3 hours, I wouldn't win a single pot that netted me more than $5. And unfortunately for me, over that stretch of time, most of my profits made in that hand where I flopped to the straight would just kind of be bled away. So around 4 p.m., after losing several more pots by opening suited connectors that didn't get me anywhere, I would look to do that once again here, picking up 9-10 of hearts from the under the gun +1 position, and I would only get one caller in the form of the button. So with 75 in, the flop would come out queen, 8-3, 2 diamonds, and I c-bet 40. Button thinks about it for 2 seconds before making the call. So with 155 in, the turn is an offsuit 4. So I was asking myself the question, should I fire a second barrel with my gut shot straight draw, or should I just give up? If I'm asking the question in that way, you can probably guess what I did. I'd fire 115, and this time he folds immediately. And that was the only hand I would win over a stretch of time that amounted to more than half of this particular session. The game would be full for several hours and pretty decent during that time, but then it would get short-handed again. The guy in middle position raises to 35. Button calls, and I'm in the big blind with ace, king of spades, and 3-bet to 130. Folds back to the original raiser, who makes the call, with the button going out. And the flop is deuce 3-5 with 1 spade. So this is interesting. And it's kind of the theme of this day. Me getting in spots where it's not really all that clear if I should bet. Because if he has any overpair here, he's not going to fold. But obviously if he has ace-queen or ace-jack here, hands that I want in there, he's not going to call if I bet. But that said, there's still a lot of hands that have decent equity, obviously against just my ace-high, that could go ahead and get there and realize said equity if I let them do it for free. So I'm going to go ahead and be making this bet with the plan of certainly double-barreling spades and a decent amount of other cards, should I be in the position where that has to happen. I fire 150, and it would turn out that I wouldn't have to worry about what to do on the turn, because he would fold on the flop. So I would stack those chips. Unfortunately, that hand with the 9-10 suited, and then that last one with the ace-king, were the only hands of note I'd play over the last 4 hours of this session. It was insane how little I had to work with. And then I'd run out of time, having to go pick up my son. So sometimes life gets in the way of shooting the optimal vlog, but I hope to make up for that next week.
All right, wrapping up the session. It was a day that had the makings of what could have been a really interesting session of poker. Unfortunately, the guys giving all the action are the guys that left early in this game. So the game really slowed down and reached a point where making money was going to be tough, especially when you were completely card dead, as I was for a 4-hour stretch of time, as I mentioned. And despite losing a decent amount of hands where I would just open mediocre holdings over that stretch and never get anywhere, I still managed to get out of here with a win. And boy, let me tell you, I am throwing a party with this money. Plus $133, baby. Oh, yes. And for those of you that enjoy when I kind of showcase the not so extravagant reality of grinding out winning playing poker. After I took that $1,900 loss in the last vlog, I have put together 4 straight wins. Yeah, these 4 straight wins, plus $132, plus $128, plus $90, and today, plus $133. Sometimes playing poker and vlogging is really fun. Sometimes, well, it's a grind.
All right, coming back. Want to get a viewer comment in here. We've been doing that in this section of the vlog of late, and I think I've been enjoying it, as have those of you who often write in the comments in the description below. But before I do that, I want to point out that it's Cyber Monday. Most of you are watching this the day it comes out. Should apply the day after as well. And CrushLivePoker.com, the best place to go for training when it comes to actual live poker games, is offering a Cyber Monday discount. Even better than what it normally is. 30% off for life. That's right, not just for the rest of the year. 30% off for as long as you're a subscriber. I have been one since 2010. So you can get even bigger savings when it comes to the best training material available anywhere that'll help you in $5 no-limit hold'em cash games. Listening to the Crush Live Poker podcast has just become one of those rituals that I can't skip, regardless of when it is. I must listen to it right when it comes out every single week, and I've been doing that, as I mentioned, for well over a decade, and I would not want to stop now, and I'd highly recommend that you get on board as well, and now you can save even more money. In the process, all you got to do is go through the link in the description below. I'm recording this before I assume the 49ers are going to get hammered by the Bills on Sunday Night Football with over $100 million in payroll out with injury. But I'm recording it after the early slate of games, as I watched on NFL Red Zone, as I'm sure most of you did. And I just saw the hit by Azeez Al-Shaair on Trevor Lawrence that took him out of that game with the brutal concussion. And you know what I can't help but think about? I can't help but think about what Tom Brady would think when he watched that. And that could be a number of different things. But my guess is that when Tom Brady saw that, part of him said to himself, well, that wouldn't have happened to me, because I would have known that as I closed in on a defender there, the risk of that happening would have gone up. Even though he's the one that was wrong with the dirty hit, Trevor Lawrence is still the guy that now probably can't play for a while. And it's pretty clear that Brady's thought process always was the best ability is availability. You can't assume that guys aren't going to make dirty hits that will keep you out of the game. You have to do what you can to preserve yourself and make sure you're always available. And in my mind, this kind of ties into the comment of the week from Steve, which ties into me getting obliterated in a double board bomb pot last week. He writes in, I hate bomb pots. You either win lots of money or lose lots of money. It's not real poker. I know you're rich, he jokes, but seriously, stop playing bomb pots. Just sit out the hands. It's not real poker. Other than that, good luck to you. So the question then comes up. They do these bomb pots now every half hour in the game. I don't like it, but I can't seem to get away from it. So should I just sit them out? Oftentimes, particularly with some dealers that are slow at them, these bomb pots can take upwards of 8 to 10 minutes. So that's a third of the down that I'm paying time for. I'm obviously missing a lot if I sit them all out. There's also the argument of people tend to play really bad in split pot games, and you can take advantage of that if you're experienced with regards to doing it. But, and I'm not going to mention who this is, the best player who has played in my game here at the Peppermill in the past year, he sat out every single one of them. His thought process obviously was, I have such an edge the rest of the time. Why gamble? Now, I don't have as big of an edge as he does, but I think there's something to that. So I think my approach, at least for the time being, is going to be, I'm just going to try and sit out most of them. But I don't think, given the time involved, that I'm going to be able to sit out all of them, because I would like to try to practice to get a little bit better at playing these double board hands and try to take advantage of some spots there. But to try to minimize risk, I'm going to sit out as many of them as I can. because as some have commented, they don't really make for great vlog content either. So that's not lost on me as well. Anyway, that'll wrap things up for us on this edition of the vlog. Hit those like and subscribe buttons and follow along on Instagram at bendeach. We'll see you next time from Vegas.